All right. So, everybody, hey, I want to introduce you to John Romano. He is my friend of many years. He has been a vice president for the Florida State Massage Therapy Association. He's also, if you see him driving, it's what he does best because he's on his way home from teaching. And John, how long have you been teaching massage?
Since 2005.
Yeah, we've gone back many years, and John is one of the best in the top 10, I'd say maybe even top 5 in the state of Florida who's been doing massage and helping people, not just with massage, but with MPS and manual lymph drainage. And he is on our board. And we've taken the time now to, we want you to know our instructors because there's going to be a sound that's going to reverberate with all of you. We got specialty instructors, and John is one of them. Let me tell you a little bit about him, and then I'm going to let him tell you more about him. He's from Pennsylvania. He was born and raised near the um, fields of nature and became a botanist among his many talents. He's also an award-winning orchid grower. He's a judge for orchids. He's a master aromatherapist. He created the line of Lympho Breathe for our patients, and that has now kind of gone viral, if you will. People are understanding that you cannot just use any lotion of any type on a person with stagnant lymph. And I'll let John tell you more about that. But he's a man of many talents. We're glad to have him. And you're going to see him in the basic class, and you're also going to see him in the master classes. So, John, tell them about you. Tell them about your history, your inspiration, and what got you into all of this, and how we, well, I should say, how did we meet? I met him on a job interview we were both going to, and he had this paper bag that smelled good. I was like, who is this guy? Does he have cologne in there? What is that? And I finally had to ask him, I said, what do you have in there? And it was his aromatherapy. And he was bringing it to the job interview. And the funny thing is, I don't think either of us actually took that job, but we've had jobs ever since for the past 20 years. And now we're working together, and we want to bring some special items that you really need if you're going to go into manual lymph drainage. So, John, tell them about you.
Well, like you said, I grew up in Pennsylvania, actually out in the quote unquote country in the suburbs of Philadelphia around Westchester. So kind of right where Pennsylvania meets Delaware and Maryland. So grew up mostly in the fields and woods and stuff like that, and learned a lot about the healing plants and stuff, and started going in the botany route. And always had breathing problems when I lived up in Pennsylvania, and started to make up some of my own concoctions to help it out. And Easy Breathe was actually my first essential oil blend that I made actually when I was in high school. And I basically just made it up for myself. But some friends of mine found out, and they were like, I really like that. That really works. Can I buy some? And I was like, well, I had planned on that, but I guess I could do that. And then when I started doing massage when I was in college, I started using some of that on my patients, and thought, well, let me do some relaxing blends. And I started working out with are working with professional bodybuilders and athletes. So I decided to make a blend for muscles and came up with the Active Breathe, and it just kind of kept snowballing from there. So.
And then we really hit the big snowball when I got my patient, the one that had a 100-pound leg. I don't think anyone could understand what the size of her leg measured over 5 feet around. That was bigger than my measuring tape, and I weigh 100 pounds. And when you have a leg full of stagnant lymph, people, I gotta tell you, I'm just being honest, the smell that is permeating is stagnant lymph. And when you're in the room, I barely could breathe. I didn't have windows in my room. I couldn't breathe, and I finally I told the doctor that I work with, the one that brought lymph drainage to the US, him and I were saying every product that we found was not actually made by an aromatherapist, but by a manufacturer just trying to sell a product. And some of the products would actually make people's legs blister and swell worse. So we thought of John. I said, with his botany background, he could tell us what plants, herbs, or what to use. And John, he saved her life because her limb was ready to be amputated. And if she got one more infection, they were going to take it the next week. So we were really pushed against the wall. And I was pursed lip breathing in this room because I could barely tolerate the smell. And I asked John, is there something you could do? Please help. And I'm going to let John tell a little more about how he came to create.
If they work for me, then I'll think about selling them or whatever. But I know you came up with me with this, and you were like, hey, I really need something that's going to work. So I did some research on a lot of different herbs and essential oils that work well for lymph, and not just for lymph, but different aspects of lymph, like flushing the lymph nodes and helping the vessels open up and everything else. So combining everything together, we had about 5 or 6 different tries before we got the one that we have now, and the one that we have now seems to be working well. I have people from all over that will call me up and say, hey, I need some of that.
Yeah, and also you found out what I didn't know, because I'm not an aromatherapist. I bought what I thought was the best oils I could find in the market, and found out that my patient was blistering, and you took it to the university, your friend that's professor. And what did you find out about those essential oils that we thought were so good?
Well, some of those multi-level marketing places, when you make a blend, the different essential oils, you have top notes, middle notes, and base notes. And a lot of times, when you smell a blend, when you open it up, you should smell the whole blend, but then you're like, hey, I can sense a little of this in there or a little of that in there or whatever. And with these blends from these marketing companies, you would open it up and you would just smell the blend, and that was it. And that's not how it should work. And I got a really good nose, and I kept smelling this like kind of perfumey smell in the back of my nose. And I sent it up to my dad's friend up at Penn State University, and they did a chemical analysis on a couple of the different blends from a couple of the different companies. And they found that their blends had synthetic binders. And what those do is those hold on to those different notes and don't let them dissipate at different times and levels. So that's why when you smell it, you don't smell the, hey, I smell a little lemon or I smell a little rosemary or whatever it is in there. You only smell the blend. And that's what that little perfumey note was in the back of my nose as well.
John, let me ask you a question I never really asked. I was one of those people that wanted to drink the essential oils that they were selling. And I stopped because there was like a disclaimer that said, do not ingest these. And these are some of the most well-known ones in the industry. Did they make a change, or what are your thoughts on that?
They may have made a change more recently. I'm not sure. I haven't had anything tested in a while. But generally, you know, and unless it's a licensed healthcare provider that's going to actually recommend or prescribe to take an essential oil internally, you probably shouldn't unless you know what you're doing, because things like, you know, eucalyptus and tea tree and things like that, they do have a toxicity level. So unless you know what that rate is, you know, you don't want to take more than what you should be taking. And, you know, people have this mindset that a little bit does great. So if I take more, it should even be better. And a lot of times that's not even true. Even on my blends, I say don't take them internally, even though they are of a you know, food grade quality and a medicinal grade quality oil. So it's good to just have that on there. Now, you know, they may have just been using the blinders for their blends, and their base oils of just lemon or just peppermint or something like that may not have had anything like that. We didn't test those.
So for anyone that's listening, because there's a lot of people who want to incorporate lymph work with aromatherapy, please listen to John. He is really our go-to person for all things aromatherapy. I am not an aromatherapist. I know how to make you spaghetti and meatballs and garlic, but that's not going to help you, because you got to understand when you're dealing with lymph that's been stagnant for years, it's full of acidity. And what you put on that skin surface that you think is okay on one limb may not be good on the other limb. And that's what John has been working on and refining. And you were even approached. You may want to share who's approached you because they know that you got the recipe.
Yeah, I did have one of those multi-level marketing companies approach me to purchase one of my blends, and I actually refused them because they said that they were going to put a binder in there. Now it's kind of funny because, you know, since essential oils are not regulated by the FDA, you don't even have to put which essential oils are in there or all of them or whatever. I actually, what I do is on my labels, everything that's in there is in there. I may add one or two other ones, but I don't leave anything out. So if anybody has any type of an allergy, you know, they can always call or email and basically ask if that oil is in there. But at least, you know, whatever is in there or possibly in there is going to be on the label.
Now, in addition to your talents with your aromatherapy, you also work with the MPS units.
Yes.
They've just this year included the aromatherapy into the new device. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that and how that helps with scar tissue?
Well, you know, one of the things I want to add is, you know, a lot of the reasons why you may have blistering when you're using some of these blends or even some of these other oils is, let's take peppermint, for example. Peppermint naturally has menthol in it. And some companies want to have the strongest peppermint that they possibly can. So what they'll do is they'll take their peppermint essential oil and they'll add extra menthol. And it's usually a synthetic menthol that they use, or, it could possibly even be a naturally derived. But the thing is they're increasing the menthol levels so high that that could actually cause the blistering. And synthetic binders can cause blistering as well. One of the reasons, or another reason why I really like using my own blends, is I know what's in them. And since there's no synthetic binders, I know that when I use the MPS, I'm not going to introduce any of that into the body, because you have to look at it this way. When you're using an essential oil and you're using an electric current, that electric current is doing a photophoresis where it's actually carrying and taking that oil into the body. So if you have a synthetic binder or synthetic, or extra menthol in there, when you have that on and you use that electrical current, you're actually pushing that through the skin as well. So, there's a lot of that you have to think about. And, I really didn't want a chance having any of that synthetic chemicals going into the body, while I'm treating somebody.
And John, with your particular blend, it's actually been used in the White House for our senators and for our people. We got to think a little different, out of the box. We're talking about people that are flying. There are representatives. They can't walk around with bandages. So we use aromatherapy and MPS and MLD. And what were some of the results you got from that? Share what you found out at the White House with your blend.
They thought it was amazing. They had been using MPS and they had been using manual lymphatic drainage. And, when we had, made some discussion and we're talking in person, I was like, I incorporate the essential oils because I get a better result. It's not just one thing by itself. You use a couple things together and you even get better results. Just like, when we do MPS, you can use 1 point, which you'll get a result, or you can use 2 points to circuit the electricity and you get a better result. So with that better result with the 2 points, you also add the essential oils and you even get a better result than what you would have if you hadn't used it. I'm not going to mention who they are, but even some of my blends are used on a couple of the professional sports teams down here in South Florida.
Yeah, and it helps to break up the viscosity, and that's half the problem. When the lymph gets hard before it turns to scar tissue, you want to get that aromatherapy in there and break it down without it causing further damage. So, guys, you're getting a little introduction to John. And while we're here, since we got him, he is a world-renowned orchid judge, and I'm going to toot his horn. They named some orchids after John. So, John, tell them what the name of your orchids are.
It was a new Sobralia species that was discovered in 2014 in Guatemala, and it's called Sobralia romanoi.
So you can go to John's page on Facebook and you can look at all his beautiful orchids, in addition to looking at his aromatherapy, which is otherworlds.com. Is that correct?
Otherworldstherapies.com. I also have the easybreathe.us is the aromatherapy website.
And do you want to give them your email address if they want to contact you directly?
It's jromano2966@yahoo.com.
Yes, and by the way, happy birthday, because it's coming up real soon. So I'm getting on this.
Yes, it is.
Yes. He's only 27 years old, everybody. Okay, just remember that. But He is one of
21 with
our,
36 years experience.
yeah, okay, you figure out the math there. I'm not good with the math, but he's a really, he's from Florida. You're going to see him in the Caribbean. You're going to see him in, we're planning a trip down to Costa Rica. And again, John is more of the warm climate like I am, and that's why we're down here, guys.
Exactly.
So you'll probably see him down here, or if it's warmer up north. But we're glad that we had the chance to do a little interview with our instructors. And you know what? These people, I want you to know this about John. John has been with me. I've been with him for almost 20 years. Can you believe that?
I know.
I can't believe we're old enough to say that, but that
And I
says
maybe even, I think I'm getting ready to get together another international symposium. So we may be hitting another cruise ship soon.
yes, everybody listen to John, and Lisa's going on the ship. And I might talk a little bit about Limp, but I'm gonna be looking overboard. But yes, he got the cruise ship together. So we got so many projects that we do in some of our master classes. When we do them, we'll bring 2 or 3 of our instructors out, and you might enjoy a trip at sea. So please
They're
keep in
great.
contact with him. And this is going to go up on our YouTube channel, and it will also be on our new website. So everyone gets to know a little bit more about our instructors, because they're really special people. So thank you so much, John, for that tonight.
Thank you.
And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click this off, and we're going to chit chat